Hi, this is Zap, and welcome to the Reset and Zap podcast.
I just need a reset. No, it's not enough to press pause. I think I need a reset. I need a reset. Reset.
Welcome to the Reset and Zap podcast. I am your host, Zap, and with me is my co-host.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy TJ.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to jump right into it. We're going to reset. Reset. As a matter of fact, practice with me. Reset. All right, there we go. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very important discussion, but before we dive right into it, let me just remind you that you can drop your comments and your ratings on all streaming platforms. Choose your favorite streaming platform that's, of course, has our podcast available. Yeah. And you can drop a 4-star, 5-star, whatever you feel like dropping, And if you wanna leave a review, you can go to YouTube/ZapCristal, because our podcast is also available now on YouTube. We have a full catalog and, of course, a beautiful comment section where you can drop your comments, and who knows, we might read them out loud in a future episode of the Reset and Zap podcast.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm down for that.
Do you know what we're gonna talk about for today?
What are we gonna talk about today?
Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be discussing about the importance of how to balance your life, especially when you're living a pretty busy life.
Oh, I think, this is something we can talk about.
Yeah, how to bring balance to a busy life. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I think this is something we are both experts in.
Yeah, we're both experts, both seasoned veterans. Put that sazon, that adobo. Sprinkle it, toss that sauce. I think we were perfectly capable of just having a heart-to-heart, one-on-one talk of how do we, I know it sounds simple, but it's actually a pretty hard and difficult question. Like, how do you bring balance to a busy life?
I actually agree 100%. And before we even dive into that, I think it's important to realize that the first thing that you have to do is to realize that you're living a busy life. Some people just go on throughout their life and not realize that they're not really setting aside time for themselves and for the things they really want to do. And they just go on like that. First thing is just accepting the fact that, hey, I got too much going on. I need to do something to balance this out. And you want to just go back and forth and keep doing this?
Yeah, I say what we'll do is, that way it's, we have better context to what we're discussing. Let's offer first some background of how our life looks like. And that way, when we talk about bringing balance, it makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you want to kick it off or you want me to kick it?
I'll let you kick it off. That's fine with me.
I'm going to kick it then.
Yeah.
Kick it like Kung Fu. Yeah. Let's do it. All right, so my life. Very busy, let's just go through a day. I wake up in the morning. The first thing I do is get ready for work. I do a job that is very physically intensive. So, especially working out here in this Texas heat. Mm-hmm. So that's about 8 to 10 hours out of my day right there, just working all day. And then in between that, I'm also trying to, get on social media and promote my music and promote my new videos and, checking in on family and checking up on my wife, checking up on my son. It's just that part alone keeps me busy. And then I get home and I'm either going to work on some new songs, or I'm going to work on a video, or I'm going to do some editing, or I'm helping my wife with the podcast, or we got to make some more promotional materials, or we got to do thumbnails, or we got to do this and that. Have to cook and eat dinner. Get to go to sleep.
Very important.
And get ready to do the same thing again the next day. And then weekends, it just depends on the weekend. Like, we might have a con to go to, or we might be filming that weekend, or we might be filming the podcast, we might be filming a music video, we might be filming just a regular ZapCristal video. We might be recording music.
Yeah.
Because we got to do a lot of that too. So it's like, are constantly doing something at all times. But what's very important is that you have to bring a balance to that. And that's pretty much where I start coming in at. It's like, first of all, realizing that, yes, I am very busy. And then the next step after that is you have to make a decision about what is important to you.
Oof, preach it.
That's the first step that'd be my first step, is what's important to you. Is for me, like, my music, of course, is very important to me because I love music with all my heart, but my family is more important. Taking care of my wife, taking care of my son, going out and getting that paper every day, that's more important to me because that sustains my life. That sustains my wife and my son. So, like, you have to prioritize what's more important to you. There may be some things in your life that you might need to just give up completely. Or there's things you need to cut back on, or things that you do too much of that are not healthy for you. Even our eating habits we've had to change.
Yeah.
Just so we can have better health, have more energy, so we can do more things. So it can get really, really deep on how you think about it. But like I said, for me, that first step is to prioritize what is important to you and use that to start your list of how to balance your life.
Ooh, I can't even imagine once we deep dive into this. Because if this is the introduction, I don't even want to imagine when we start deep diving.
Oh yeah, that's just step one.
That's one hell of an introduction, babe.
That's just step one right there, baby.
Yeah. So, like you explained, we have a very busy life. For me, what does a day look like for me when I'm not in front of the camera, right? I'm waking up in the morning. I'm pretty much prepping my meals and things because, like you all know, in the past I have mentioned that a lot of stuff have changed health-wise in my life, which requires me taking better care of what I consume while I'm being overall, effective and performing well at my job and my workplace. My workplace is a beautiful job that I enjoy doing, but it's also very stressful. So keeping my stress levels in check during the day is also very important for me. And then in the meantime, like he said, I'm trying to be active on social media. I'm checking up on him, seeing how he's doing while he's at work, checking on my dad, my family, just family in general is what I'm pretty much doing during the day. I can't really be as active on social media because I'm at my workplace, so I have a responsibility, But once I'm off and I come back home, I'm pretty much checking if dinner has been done, who's doing dinner, if me or you, how's Jay doing. I'm also making sure that if there's things that have to be done, that have to be promoted, that's actually my time where I sit down and then I'm active on social media, putting out whatever needs to be put out, answering emails, replying to DMs, whatever, you name it, and then probably sitting with you, having a quick 20-minute meeting of what are we working on this week so I know what I have to do,
Our weekly meetings.
Our weekly meetings, yeah. Thank God for those weekly meetings because I don't know where I'll be at. But, if you look at it at first glance, it is very overwhelming because you're like, wow, how do I even make it work? Yeah. But one thing I will mention that has helped me a lot is organization. Just being consistent and disciplined while just organizing whatever needs to be organized for the week. I think that a huge part of my success is actually due to me being organized and having a system in place.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because with the busy life we have, there's not really much space nor time to wing it. Yeah. So you have to have a system in place.
Winging it. Oh my God.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I am the king of winging it.
I agree and second it.
That when me and her got together, that's kind of one of our big personality differences. Is that I am just a fly by the seat of my pants type person. Like I will make up something, I will freaking, even down to the way that I cook. Like what do we got? What ingredients do I have? I'm gonna make something out of that. And I did the same thing with my content. Like I would make up stuff, I would freestyle it, like how am I gonna do this? And I would just make everything up on the fly, which worked for me for a while and got me to a certain point. But once again, we're talking about balance. You kind of need a little bit of both. There's gonna be those moments where sometimes you have, matter of fact, I have the perfect story to talk about.
Ooh, story time.
I got the perfect story to talk about this.
Gotcha.
This is something that happened with me and you recently, actually.
Okay.
We were going to go film.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that morning we woke up. The first thing we did, like we've talked about before, is our weekly meeting, which is part of bringing balance to your life.
Yes.
We sit down and we discuss, okay, what are we working on? We're working on these videos. We're working on this music. We're going to film this today. We're going to shoot this. We're going to edit this. This is what we're going to do. So, all right, you're going to wake up. Like this morning, I had to edit the wedding video, and then we're going to go film, and then we're going to do this. This is where we're filming. This is what we're filming. This is how we're doing it. Blase, blase, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And that is a big part of balancing your life, is having a plan.
Yes.
So that would be my number 2, would be having a plan. And we woke up and we had a plan in place, and we was like, this is what we're doing today, and we're gonna figure this out. This is what we're doing today. But like I said, you have to have a balance of both. Like sometimes you need to be able to just work on the fly to keep things moving. So we got to the spot that we were going to film at, and unfortunately, due to the extreme heat that's been going on here in Texas, we were going to an area that had like a pond area, and that had like, a nice water backdrop for the video. And unfortunately, that pond had completely dried up. Yeah. And it looked bad. Yeah. And it wouldn't have looked good for a video.
No, it wouldn't.
So what did we do? We had to come up with an alternative.
Yeah.
So we was like, all right, now let's
pull out a location from my handy dandy magic hat.
So we had to, and move our location to another place, and actually ended up filming 2 videos instead of one.
Because it worked out to our favor.
Yeah, because the plan was to originally shoot 1 video there, but since this other location that wasn't what we needed, we decided to film both videos there in very close proximity to each other. Mm-hmm. So once again, like I said, being able to be inflexible. And another thing I would say on the number 3 is being able, I'm trying to figure the right word for it, but basically being efficient.
Yes.
Being very, very efficient. Like we said, we got to that spot and we were able to film 2 videos instead of 1.
Yes.
So throughout that day, with everything that we did that day, even though we, like I said, we live such a busy life, we ended up being able to film 4 videos.
Even with the delay.
Yeah. Even with the delay of going to that one spot. Because if you know anything about Texas, nothing is close to each other.
No.
A 30-minute drive is down the street. Okay? Mm-hmm. So like driving to a location and having to drive back, we lost about an hour of film time.
Yeah.
So like that morning, I had already edited the wedding video that will be coming soon, or probably out at this point when this drops.
Yeah.
And we managed to film 4 videos.
4 videos.
Managed to still get home, cook dinner, eat, and take care of all of our upload videos, do everything that we had to do.
And we live streamed.
And that was the same night of the Chrono Trigger live stream.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about bringing balance to a busy life. We managed to get a lot done in a very short amount of time. And being efficient is a big part of that. So planning, getting everything written out. Like she pulls out her little handy dandy book and writes down everything. Like I said, I'm not used to that because all my ideas are in my head, Yeah. My head is my book. But, that's one thing that she has really taught me is that, if you plan and try to be as efficient and flexible as possible, you can actually get a lot done in a short amount of time. So I would say that is another step to bringing balance to a busy life.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting too. I'm glad you actually, because I wouldn't have been able to recall this moment actually. But when we're talking about pre-planning and coming up with a plan and being efficient, that tags along also with time management, knowing how much time you have in your hands and what to prioritize. Because not only do we talk about what's important to you and how to prioritize those things. But that also comes within the work setting. Like, what is priority for you? You know, we had so many videos we could have shot and filmed that day, but which videos were a priority to us? To therefore determine how much time do we need to make those videos. And based off of that, you know, we kind of choose and pick what would work best for our schedule, you know. So that, yeah, it's a very important process that I think if you overlook, I'm not saying you can't get your work done, but it might cost you simply more time and resources that could have been avoided if you simply sat down for 20, 30 minutes, even maybe up to an hour of just pre-planning whatever needs to be done for the week.
And you are the queen of pre-planning, I'll tell you that.
I am. Like I said, the grand majority of my success, I owe it to, but as funny as it may sound, I wasn't like that in the past.
Really?
Yeah. I know it sounds weird, but I was not. I was very disorganized. I actually some part of my, part of my growth of my channel, like you said, was me winging it. Just, throwing stuff out there, seeing what would stick and what would work. Once I paid, which I don't think I've ever talked about this actually, which is super important. I've never brought this. This is going to be the very first time you guys hear this actually.
Okay.
I was growing on YouTube, and I had help of my friends and them guiding me, and we had what we called our content creator circles and groups where I was accountable to them once a month or every time we were able to get together, because obviously we're all scattered, across the country, so it's hard, when it's not local. And we would discuss plans of how to reach goals and complete and achieve milestones and grow overall as a content creator. And while it was helpful and it had helped me grow, there came a time that it was just pretty much stagnant. So I needed help. I needed help from experts. And there came, with shout out to my mentors, Sean Cannell, Roberto Blake, the entire Think Media team. They offer courses and are really good mentors of teaching you how to take YouTube and content creator career seriously and how to grow. And that required me making an investment. So I decided that what was priority for me at that time is I wanted to grow my career as a business. So if that was priority for me, what do I have to do? To make my time efficient, to be organized, and to grow. Well, I needed that knowledge from people on the outside that have been doing it for the longest. So I invested in my education. I purchased books from them. I purchased courses. I was in a very intense boot camp training where they tackled a bunch of areas that were my weaknesses at that time, like building my camera confidence, being a good storyteller, building a system in place and being organized. And that was one of those biggest things I've learned when I invested in my education. They were like, well, you're a little disorganized. You've got to have a system in place. And that's when the journaling came in. They were like, well, you got to write it down. I'm a visual learner. I have to put it somewhere where I can see it. So I had a journal, a book that was just dedicated to writing down my video ideas, writing down my scripts, bullet points, highlights, and that's how I actually started putting a system in place. So, long story short, having a system in place and being organized has helped me greatly, therefore be more efficient with time overall.
Okay. That's actually something I was not aware of. That's really cool to see how that change came. Because for me, it still hasn't come yet. I'm working on it though. I'm getting better.
Getting better. That's a whole different topic for another podcast that I would love to talk about, of things that I owe a lot to my mentors, because you'd be surprised of a lot of stuff that I'm actually good at now, but in the past I was not great at all.
Okay. Well, if I was to take the reins at this point, as you were talking, something else popped into my head as well. And that's something that I did not learn. This is one thing that I say that I have learned on my own and developed over time, is that it goes to an old saying that I used to hear.
Okay.
And it's no one man is an island. And it basically means that not one person can do everything. And what I've learned is how to rely on others to help me. Because when I first started, I was doing everything on my own. Like everything. Every aspect, everything, every little detail, everything had to be handled by me directly. And the first step I learned to doing that was when I created Master Sword Music. And I would lend out tasks like, hey, I need you to check out this song, let me know if it works. Or, hey, can you run Discord for me? Or, hey, can you mod my YouTube channel for me? And, run things in the background. There's even been times where I've taken vacations and I've let members of my team do the promo for that week's videos. And that was the start of it. But a big part of it is when, of course, me and you got together. And I began trusting things to you that I had not allowed anybody else to do, like creating thumbnails for me, or creating whole videos for me, and helping me with my music development, and just being very essential. Like, even though you may not see her on camera all the time on my channel, which is going to change. It's going to change pretty soon. But her work has been all over my channel for a very long time, even before we got together.
Yeah.
Because before we were just friends, you were helping me with my thumbnails and my promo and my social media presence, and giving me advice on things I should do to help improve my channel. And I took your advice and instantly saw growth and got to a place that I never thought that I could be because of the advice that you gave me. And having someone on your team, having a team, or having people you can rely on is really helpful for you bringing that balance. Because you can be like, all right, I don't have to worry about this because I know this person's going to take care of that. Or if I get stuck on something like, babe, I don't know what to do with this thumbnail, can you please help me? And she'll come out there and knock out a thumbnail in 2 minutes. I can't stand it. Hate her, she's so good.
Oh, God.
Or even when you need, like, hey, babe, it's one thing I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to have a website. And I'm like, you know what? I know how to make websites. I'll build you a website. Like, having somebody that you can lean on and depend on every once in a while to help with things will also help bring balance to your life. Don't try to do everything yourself, because you can't. No one man is an island. You need other people's help. And relying on other people is not a bad thing. I know that it took me a long time to learn that, because I hated trusting my baby to anybody.
And that's where I wanted to go with it, and I'm glad you brought this up, because it is normal to share the feeling of, it's your baby. It's your project. You've worked hard on it, and you're sometimes not sure if people get how important this is for you, and if you were to delegate it, if they're going to do a good job portraying or translating whatever your goal is for the project you're working on.
Yeah.
And I agree with you 100%, because one of my biggest issues, which is why I invested in my education, was precisely that one of the things that was holding me back, that I'm still working on till this day, don't you think I got it figured out, was precisely having to trust and delegate roles to people, because I had grown to a point that things were getting out of hand, and it was hard for me to just do everything on my own. And I just needed people to step in. So like for me, for example, one of the biggest things that came to delegating was actually assigning people as mods, because mod is for me like a very precious title. Like, you don't give that title to just anyone. Like for me, everybody got different criteria and requirements of what they consider who to give a title of a mod, a moderator to. But for me, like, modding has to be, one, that person has to be in my community long enough to know the language we use within my community. They got to know how we behave, what's okay talking about, what's not okay, what's
the culture.
Yeah, exactly. But most importantly, like, they have to know what's the mission and the vision of my channel and what I'm trying to build. So therefore, when rules have to be reinforced or systems have to be, placed, then they know, okay, case by case, how can I tackle this? If a scenario were to arise, what would I do? How would I react?
Yeah.
So moderator for me is very precious. So delegating that role to someone was a very hard thing, but I'm glad that I gave myself the opportunity to actually trust in people. And even if it was for a season or temporarily, because some of them are no longer moderators, but for the time being that they were, I'm always going to be grateful because
Of course.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work.
I know, because I tried to do it all by myself, and I had to like, look, man, I need some help.
Yeah.
I need some help. And going even like this is such a deep topic.
Yeah. We're deep diving. Get ready. This is now deep diving.
Right now, we've pretty much just been talking about content creation and video work and all that kind of stuff. But it goes even beyond that, because having balance is not leaning so much into that all the time. There's other aspects of your life that need to be addressed as well. Like in my particular case, or in our particular case, also balancing out a relationship. Because yes, we are busy all the time, but we also have to make time for each other as well.
That's for you and me, baby.
I can't with you. I can't. I'm trying to make a point here, okay?
All right.
But you also have to make time. If you have a significant other in your life, you have to make sure that you, I like what's that word that you always, purposeful.
Yeah.
That's the word you always use.
Intentional. Purposeful.
You have to be intentional with the time that you spend with this person. Don't be, hey, I'm going to the store. You want to come with me? That's not intentional. Like, you want hey, me tonight, let's go out to eat. Let's go to a movie. Let's go to the opera.
Yeah, be clear. And I want you to come.
Yeah, like, I'm
me
planning this event specifically for me and you to spend time together. Not, hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to come along type thing?
Yeah.
Which happens sometimes, but you want to have those intentional, like me and you still have date nights.
Yeah.
We're married, and
Secret.
we will go out and plan events for me and you to do together, or we'll have a family night where we all sit around and play a game together, or we'll do things as a unit to, like, be closer to one another and have that time, because it can't just all be about work. Sometimes we'll have what we like to call our retreats, where we actually put all work to the side. Like, no social media, no editing, no music, none of that.
Nothing work related.
We're just going to do whatever we want to do outside of work. We're going to go out. We're going to have fun. We're going to go to a water park with our son.
We put our phone on Do Not Disturb.
And it's done. Like recently we did one of these, of course, because we were getting married.
Yeah.
But after that wedding ceremony, and we did our last post that we needed to do to let everybody know what was going on, Do Not Disturb mode.
Yep. We shut everything down.
Shut it all down. And it's about us now, and everybody else can wait until we get back.
Yeah.
And we've done that several times at this point.
It's been amazing. Every time we come back, you can tell the difference.
Oh yeah, like the first time we did it, I actually made a post on my Instagram, and it was just me in the car dancing, saying, when you don't have to be on social media for a few days.
Yeah.
And I was having a good time, because I was looking forward to just unwinding and taking a break and unplugging, which is another thing about keeping balance to a busy life.
Yeah.
Knowing when it's time to unplug. Knowing when it's time. Yeah. Sometimes you need to just turn off the TV, turn off the social media, and just enjoy life. You don't have to photograph everything. You don't have to. Sometimes you need to take, and even outside of, even though we are in a relationship and we spend time with each other, we also make sure that we have time for ourselves as individuals.
Yes.
There'll be times where I'll be just like, hey, babe, I just need some me time. I'm going to go out and just do something for me. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes, hey, babe, I'm going to go get my hair and nail done. Go ahead, baby. Go do your thing. Have fun. do you, because even that helps bring balance to your life, because sometimes you don't want to lose who you are as an individual being in a relationship, because we still are individuals at the end of the day. And it helps keep our relationship healthy, and it helps keep our work life healthy, and helps keep our family healthy. So these things are very, very important. And a simple topic as bringing balance to your life,
It's pretty deep.
it's pretty complex. There's a lot of things you have to consider. Like I said, am I working too much? Am I spending enough time with my wife? Am I spending enough time with my son? Am I spending enough time for myself?
Yes.
And balancing all those things, you have to take all these things into consideration. And like I said, prioritize what's most important. Set your priorities and then do those things in that order and stick to what you say. Like for me, no matter what happens, I love music to death. I love YouTube and I love the content that I do. But my number one will always be my family. No matter what. My wife and my son will come before any of this stuff. And if that gets in the way of me taking care of my family, then it might have to take a back seat for a while, because I can't overdo myself trying to do everything, because I'm not Superman.
Yeah.
So there are days where I come home and I'm just like, you know what? I can't work today. I know I got stuff I need to get done, but I can't today. I need to get home. I need to fix dinner for my family. I need to make sure we eat. I need to make sure we're taken care of, and we need to just rest and relax. Because if I burn myself out, then I'm good to nobody.
Yeah. Which I'm so glad you brought it up, because I was going to bring up the fact that you don't necessarily have to have a significant other to bring balance to a busy life. It's important to also bring balance and have time for yourself. Just for you. You know, that was one of the biggest lessons I actually learned from one of my mentors, that he kept emphasizing the importance of taking care of yourself to avoid getting before, let me rephrase that, to avoid getting to the point of being burned out. Because he was telling me this. He was telling me the reason why a lot of creators are burnt out is because they never really have taken the time to have these habits, in place of taking care of yourself. And then by the time you realize that now you have to take care of yourself is usually when health issues arise, or relationships are, fractured, and you're in a stage in your life that you shouldn't have been because you didn't prioritize it. So, just like, that's why I love that you brought it up. Like, not only do we, because we've learned this from the past, from our life lessons. Unfortunately, we have gone through this where we have learned the negative side of what happens when you do not bring balance to a busy life.
Yeah.
And now, because of these lessons, now we treasure and keep it close to our heart, that we need to separate time for us. But not only for us, but as individuals. Like you said about me time. For me, me time is more like prioritizing what's important. So the things that I'm just not going to negotiate with is my health. So if that means sacrificing things that I used to enjoy in the past eating, that I can't eat now temporarily, until I get stuff in order, then it is what it is. I'm going to prioritize it, because for me, it's more important to live a longer life and be on earth as long as I can, to treasure those moments with my family. And holy crap, am I getting emotional just saying it, than just enjoying this plate for 5 minutes. Yeah. Another thing that I still, and let me make it clear, we don't have this all figured out. Like, as we're talking, we're still trying to figure out stuff. One of my biggest struggles right now that I'm working on is getting back to exercising. The truth is, with this weather, it just hasn't helped a lot. And it's just like obstacles present itself. So you also got to figure out how you're going to tackle this. You're just going to have to be creative. Luckily, we've come up with an idea that I think might work for me, where I can bring back workouts and still be exercising, because it's beneficial and useful for my health, and most importantly, and I was thinking about this morning actually, because I was feeling kind of overwhelmed, and I did realize I needed me time. That's when I noticed I needed me time. I was getting very irritated for just like simple things. Yeah, I was getting very irritated, but I had to stop myself in the car and I was like, what is going on? Why am I feeling this way? And it kind of hit me. I said, I haven't had me time. So I had to unplug and just tell myself, like, it's okay. You're a human being. It's okay to feel these emotions. You just need some me time. And it might have been like 5 or 10 minutes of me just walking by myself somewhere to an aisle. But it's the time I needed to cool down and kind of have that talk with myself of where am I feeling emotionally, and do I need to communicate to my partner and tell him, it's not you, it's me. I'm feeling this way, and I just need to recharge for a minute because maybe it's been an overwhelming week, or I don't know, I might be dealing with this. I haven't figured it. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
You don't have to tell me, babe. I already know. That's the one great thing about knowing your partner is that sometimes you just got to know when to give them space.
Yeah.
So I just let her do her thing for a while, and she'll come back around.
Yeah. So that's the importance of bringing balance to a busy life.
Man, this is gonna be a long episode because every time you say something, it brings up something else that I'm thinking about, and something that we both learned and that we're still currently doing is learning how to make adjustments.
Yeah.
Not being afraid to change things around to bring yourself balance. Like when we changed our schedules on how we release videos and when we stream and stuff like that. Because a hard decision that I had to make was to quit streaming. Like I really enjoyed it and it was fun. And I love doing my live studio sessions and stuff like that. But what I realized is that it was really taking away from the rest of the work. Like there was a lot of other things that I could be using that time to do. And even though I love live streaming, and even though it's very enjoyable to do, it's just like I needed to cut back so I could have time for myself and for my wife and for my family and for other things that I needed to get done. And how you've changed your schedule to like, you were streaming every week at one point.
Yeah.
Where now you're doing it every other week, and how you've changed your video releases, and how honestly this is very funny that we're talking about this here.
Major changes.
It's funny that we're talking about it here, but the podcast actually was part of that effort.
Yes.
Because doing the podcast was a way to still get content out there, but to have something that's like easier to do, a little more engaged, like something we can do on a more regular basis, because it's literally just us in front of a camera talking and just, giving out this information. So that is a way for you to still have that content flowing in between your more full videos.
Why? Oh,
because you started talking about, I'm telling you, like this topic is that's why I said I think we would be very good at talking about this, because we are still currently in the process of learning these things.
Yeah.
We are currently making adjustments to how we do things, and one of the things that we both discuss and talk about is stackable content.
Yeah.
Being able to do content that we can do in mass. So we can
mass production. Mass production.
Mass production.
Yeah.
So we can like do several episodes of a podcast, or do several songs at once, or having videos like just stacked up. That way we can just release stuff as it goes instead of making content as is needed. And it helps to do that so that, it makes your work harder for the moment. Like, all right, I got a lot to do at once. But then once you're done, then you can take a break and just release content that you already have in the stockpile. And it helps you have room to be creative for other projects that you may have. So now that we have the podcast, we can just release that as is needed. That gives you more time to focus on your regular ZapCristal videos. Yeah. So it's like, don't be afraid to change up some things.
Yeah.
If 2 videos a week is too much, maybe change it to 1. If 1 video every week is too, maybe do it every other week. Like sometimes you have to learn how to make adjustments to bring balance to your life. Like I completely changed. Like at one point I was doing 3 videos a week.
Yeah, I remember.
Streaming like 2 or 3 times a week.
God.
Dropping shorts on the days I wasn't dropping videos. Dropping videos on just direct videos to YouTube, editing every single day. Like every single day I was dropping some kind of content and it was just too much. I couldn't.
TJ marathon.
Oh, it was ridiculous. Like a lot of people look back, like something I noticed that as some people like, it's like, oh, he's dropping a greatest hits album. How is he like a greatest hits? Like you have to have. But what a lot of people don't realize is in the short period of time that I've been doing content, I've already dropped like 6 albums. I have over 100 songs released.
Yeah.
Not even counting stuff that you guys haven't even heard or stuff that I just put to the back burner because I didn't like it. Like, I was putting out music at a ridiculous pace. Like, who else do you know drops new music every single week?
Yeah.
Every week I was dropping a new song and a new video. It was not sustainable. It was not realistic. I was doing 2 remixes a week and a music video and streaming and everything else that I could possibly get my hands on. And all while working a full-time job and having a family to support. So sometimes you have to learn how to make adjustments to bring balance to your life.
Yeah, and sometimes the only thing that's holding you back is just fear to change.
And that's what it was for me. I was scared that if I didn't release 3 videos a week that people would forget about me, or if I didn't post something every single day that I would be forgotten about and I would lose all the progress that I had made. And but you know what? I got to a point where I decided that, once again, prioritizing.
Yeah, preach it.
That wasn't important to me anymore. It wasn't as important. Like I can't, if I burn myself out, then I'm going to be bringing out no content.
Yeah.
If I end up in a hospital somewhere because of my health, then no videos are dropping. Like I had to get to a point where I had to be like, you know what? People aren't going to forget about you if you go a day or 2 without a video. If sometimes I was scared to take a break. I was scared like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't drop a video this week. I'm just not ready. I was scared to do stuff like that.
Yeah. I
was scared to be like, look, this weekend I'm just completely stepping away from social media. You ain't going to see or hear from me for several days. I was scared that, in that short amount of time, people would forget about me because we live in this generation where it's just like everything is so like
content is constantly being pumped.
Yeah, what's new now? What's hot right now? What's hot this second?
Yeah.
And I made it a conscious decision to be like, you know what? I'm not going to play that game.
The rat race. Yeah.
It's a game I don't want to play. If it means that my channel grows slower, if that means that my community might not ever get as big as some of these other people, I'm okay with that.
And life happens. Like, you have to be ready for when life happens, because sometimes you don't have an option but to take a break because something happened.
Yeah.
So are you prepared for things like that?
Can't be scared. Can't be scared to change, to take a time. Like, look, there's been some times where we had to cancel some live streams.
Yeah.
Because today's just not the day. We just don't. We've had a bad day. Too much is going on. We got other things that need to be done. There's stuff in the home that needs to be taken care of. There's stuff in life that needs to be taken care of. And we we hate to do it because we enjoy the streams. But there's sometimes where we have to cancel the stream. We're like, hey, I'm only dropping 1 video this week instead of 2. Or hey, this week I'm taking a break. I'm not dropping no videos. Or whatever the case may be, is you have to be ready to make adjustments and be flexible.
And flexibility is key. I agree 100% with you. Actually, I learned this from you recently in my life because, we had these previous talks when I took my first huge break, For those that know me, like I mentioned earlier, know for a fact that I have never taken a break in my life. But when life happens. And I was forced to take a major break in my life. And that freaked me out. The feeling of thinking, even considering of taking a break, freaked me out. And a huge part of it was, like you said, what if people forget me? Oh, I'm not being consistent. Oh, my channel's going to take a hit. Oh my God, I'm not being able to be consistent or productive or pump content as much as I was. But the truth is, I was a workaholic. I was a workaholic. I had a very busy life with zero balance. And I was working myself out. And thanks to this break, I was able to sit down and analyze where I wanted to go with the channel. You know, did I wanted to keep pumping content at the same amount of frequency that I was doing at that time? You know, did I wanted to create the same style? Did I wanted to continue the same format that I was doing for my channel? You know, have my vision and my mission changed, or has it stayed the same? And the reality of it was a lot had changed in my life.
It happens.
And it took me to admit that I was a workaholic during the break.
That's what we talked about at the very beginning.
Yeah. I was burned out, remember?
Yeah, I remember. Like we said at the beginning of this podcast, that's the first thing, is just admitting that I am busy and I'm burnt out and I'm doing too much. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that realization for yourself, then you're never going to change. And since I'm talking about change now, it literally just hit me. Mm-hmm. That's a big part of bringing balance to your life, is not being afraid of change.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for change, we wouldn't be doing this podcast right now.
Oof, preach it.
You know?
Preach it.
That was a big change for you. This is a vastly different format than your other videos and your other content. Is not even necessarily being gaming focused. Like this episode, we're talking about bringing balance to your life. It has nothing to do with gaming, which is what you've pretty much been known for your entire career.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can't be scared to change things, to make things better for you, make things easier for you. Sometimes you have to know what works and what doesn't work, and make changes so that your life can have more balance. You can have more free time to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Because if we were working at the same pace that we were working before,
this wouldn't have worked out.
The podcast wouldn't have worked. I don't think our relationship would have worked.
Yeah.
I don't think raising a son would have worked.
Nope.
I don't think that we would be able to do any of the things that we've managed to do.
All the experiences we've been able to do.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
life in general.
None of it would have worked if we were working at the same pace where we were working before, where I was working every single day towards my channel, every day, constantly, 24 hours a day. Yeah, it did result in a lot of music, but it also resulted in my life not being where I wanted it to be. And even, the stuff just keeps coming to me.
Yeah.
And even beyond that, the quality of my content was affected by that. Putting out so much content all the time means that I couldn't spend the time on each individual song. I couldn't spend the time on each individual video. I couldn't spend the time on, like, if I'm pumping out 3 videos a week, I can't sit for an hour doing a thumbnail. I can't. Mm-hmm. Now, with the way that I've adjusted things and the way that I'm doing things, I can sit down and really be like, all right, let me craft this. I've even had time to actually even learn my craft better. Like, for those of you who's been following me up to this point, you might have noticed that the quality of my music has vastly increased, because now I have time to sit down and actually learn how to properly mix, how to properly edit audio, how to do vocals, how to mix instruments. And it vastly increased the quality of my music, which I never would have had time for before. I just had to do things in like you said, a mass production, like this is the way I do it, always do it, this is the way I got to keep doing it. And with me putting that time into doing more things, it's actually allowed me to be more creative. So where people think that, if I'm not doing it at this level or at this amount, then it's going to affect my career. But actually, you're right. It is going to affect your career, but in a negative sense. Mm-hmm. If you take the time to make your content quality, and I know some people are going to disagree, and I know the YouTube algorithm is going to say this and this and that, but I don't care what nobody has to say. Quality will always win over quantity. Mm-hmm. I could pump out 50 videos. If they're all trash, one video could outdo me. Yeah.
If you can pump them with a good quality, by all means do it. But if you know that you're sacrificing, the quality of those videos, and it's going to be mediocre, below acceptable in what today's market is, visualized as acceptable, you might as well not do it.
And I mean, that's pretty much what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like, I was sacrificing the quality of my content. Like, if you look at some of my, and I'm willing to admit this, and I'm willing to share this information because I don't want you guys to make the same mistake that I made. Mm-hmm. If you look at some of my earlier videos, they look like lazy attempts. Like, I did what I could with what I had, But I didn't, it was just like, this is what I do, this is how it's done, and every single video was pretty much exactly the same. And I'm gonna let you in, I'm gonna be perfectly open and honest. Every one of my videos pretty much followed the same exact format. It would have an opening, it would be me in front of a green screen, some kind of thing in the background with PNGs of the games I'm referencing popping up on the screen. Every single video did that. I would try to make it different by using different backgrounds or using different like elements and stuff like that, but it pretty much all followed the same format for a very long time until I really started to take time and get more creative. Like, oh, how can I make this video look a little different than like the 3DS video where I was able to take a picture of a 3DS and put my video inside of it so it looks like my video is playing inside the 3DS. Or like I did the same thing, something similar to that in Game Boy, or how I had like maybe I could start adding some special effects and doing this and that, and like that's when things really started to take off, is when I started being more creative and not following this cookie cutter format where everything always stays the same, because it's easier and faster to produce and I can produce more of it at a time. So yes, I had to cut back on how much I was putting out, but what I was putting out was of a much higher quality.
Oof, oof, oof. See, this is the ongoing thing. You keep saying things and I'm thinking about it, and then I'm like, oh wow, yeah, this got to be a part 2, honestly, because it's a lot. But I do want to bring this up because I feel like if I don't put it out there, I'm gonna be really upset at myself if I ever get to listen to this episode.
All right, go for it.
A huge part of my success and growth and bringing balance to my life, I owe it to you. And I just want to say it openly.
What?
I really do owe it to you.
What are you talking about?
When I took my huge break, and I also owe it to Chris. Chris, if you're listening to this episode, I'm dedicating this episode to you as well, Chris, because you were a huge help of my growth. So shout out to Chris and to you for this. I was in a very dark period in my life, guys. Like I mentioned before, I was going through a burnout phase.
Okay, I know what it is.
And this burnout phase led to me almost wanting to just up and quit.
Yeah, I figured that's where this was. I figured it out.
And but deep down inside, I didn't want to quit because this has been my baby. You know, I've been doing this since my son here probably was 4 or 5 years old. So I've been doing this for a long time, okay? Is what I'm trying to say. And this is all I've ever known. And I truly am passionate about it. And I think you know this now that you're with me. So I was struggling about it because I wanted to produce the same quality of videos and what I've been known for, but I was stuck and couldn't see outside of what I had already built. So when I sat down and talked to you guys for the very first time started creating a plan for me. Like you actually stepped into the role of auditing my channel.
Yeah.
And it reminded me when I did it for you.
I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
But that's really true.
But it was reversed now. You were auditing for me, and I never thought I would have somebody auditing my channel, besides my mentors, And Chris and you sat down and audited my channel and told me specifically what I needed to do. And one of those things were compromising and changing drastically my schedule. Because I was doing a lot.
You are.
I was streaming 2 times a week, and I was releasing 2 videos and shorts in between. And on a weekly basis with the life I have now, that's quite impossible to produce. So we came down to the solution of how many videos do I feel comfortable in dropping? And that's when I came to the realization, I was like, 2 videos a month. Because I feel like 2 videos a month, I'm not sacrificing the quality of my video, and I have more time to let things kind of air out and be creative and come up with ideas, creative things that maybe I wanted to experiment with, and I just didn't have the time to do it. So, like you said, it came into play, arranging both of our schedules, So instead of streaming every week, I streamed every other week. The same thing with my videos. I'm dropping a video every other week. And from there, is where the podcast was born, because for the longest I've wanted to do a podcast.
Yeah, you told me.
But because I was so preoccupied with other things, I never had the time to sit down and brainstorm and create the podcast. And it wasn't until I made those changes that it led to the podcast being born. And I'm glad that it happened that way, because like you said, that also leads to being able to create good quality content, but now mass producing, which is such a huge change in my life. That's why I say I thank you, Fred, because the type of videos that I make, let's just be real about it, required a lot of time and resources. So being able to do something that is so drastically different from what I'm used to doing, where I can actually mass produce it, but I'm still bringing good quality to my community, is such a game changer.
That's the key.
In my life. And it brought balance.
You said it before I even got a chance to. And that's the balance. Like, yeah, the podcast is a little bit easier to produce, but we're also able to do it at very, very high quality. Because we can take that time and invest. It's the balance between the quality and the quantity. So, like, just for context, for those who may be watching this, with the way I do my content is that when I produce an album, I go ahead and I create videos for all of those songs while the album is in creation. So by the time the album comes out, I already have, like, say the album is 16 tracks, I already have 16 videos ready to go. So, like, you guys are seeing it as you're getting songs every single week, but this is just a project that I've released, and the videos are already done. So I'm just dropping them as they come, one by one. That's why I changed my schedule where I'm dropping one music video every week. That way it gives me more time to work on projects in between. So that's when I changed to I do my filler episode on Tuesday, whether it be 1,000 Keeps It 1,000, or whether it be a video game remix, or whatever the case may be. And then Thursday is the full music release of that week. And then that gives me even more time to work on other projects while this project is being released, and gives that project actually even more time to breathe. So, like, now people are just focused on this one album for like 16 weeks, and I'm in the background working on 2 or 3 projects ahead of y'all, and you guys are getting content, high quality content every single week, and I'm not burnt out because I'm not rushing to get everything out at once. So that's how I've been able to do the content that I've been able to do. So I introduced that style of content creation to her, and she was able to use that to create the podcast now, where we can record several episodes and have the videos ready. And then when they're ready, we can just release and release and release and release. And that gives her time to work on her full videos, her regular ZapCristal video game videos. That gives her more time to focus on that and be more creative and do things. And I think the perfect example of that, and the culmination of everything that you learned, has shown in your video, My Healing Journey.
Yeah.
It is literally, like, not even because I'm your husband, or not because that is literally my favorite video that you've ever made. Like, it is the best video on your channel by far. I don't care what nobody has to say. That video was so unique, and it's something I've never really seen before. You really showed yourself in that video. The editing was super clean and different and creative, and a different style I've ever seen from you, and the music, and like, you really was able to show what you could really. That video to me shows the world how capable you really are to do something creative.
Oh my God.
And that's why I love that video so much. But I think it's the most creative thing that you've ever done. And like, that wouldn't have happened if you were having to focus on if you had to drop 2 of those videos that week. You wouldn't have been able to make My Healing Journey. It would have to have been something a little more generic and a little more like easier to like pop in easy and quick.
Yeah.
But when you have time to spend time, like even with the RPG videos, I would say it gave us, because what a lot of people don't understand is that when we do these RPG videos or do these like game discussion videos, we actually play every single game we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about games we don't know nothing about. We've sat down and played and recorded footage for each and every one of these games. So that one video we did like 16 games.
Yeah. I think it was like 16
16
or more.
games?
Yeah.
And we had to sit down and play 16 games, record the footage, write down what we had to talk about it, and then actually record and talk about it.
Yeah.
If you were putting out 2 or 3 videos a week, we wouldn't have had time to even do that.
No.
So like it gives us that air of quality. Like now we can really talk about it because I actually played this game and I know what I'm talking about and I'm discussing it, and we can break it down and we can do cool stuff with the editing, and we can add some music and add cool sound effects and all this cool. Like you've been able to take your video, even though your videos have always been high quality, you've been able to take it to even a higher quality lately because you've been spending more time with each project. Whereas you can experiment now, you can try things instead of having to just jump on to the next project.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I agree. Because even like my most recent video, which was OST, I can definitely tell the difference, because even though it's like a very familiar format that people know me for, even when you watched this video recently, you told me that you can tell the difference.
It's different. Like it has that little extra, like that extra sauce on it now. Like it's still a ZapCristal video, but it just got a little like you like to say, it got a little adobo on it.
A little sazon.
Little sazon on it. You know
and this is the most deepening discussion I think we've ever had, because now to tie it with a nice little bow, pop a cherry on top of it.
Let's do it.
If we weren't capable of bringing balance to our life, and I know you haven't thought about this, what I'm about to say.
Oh boy.
If we wouldn't have made all these changes, All About You wouldn't have been a thing.
You're right.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that on this episode? Was it the last episode? That was the last episode.
Yeah.
So just for context sake.
Yeah.
On the last episode, I announced that All About You, my next album, is actually going to work as a movie.
Yeah.
Where every video tells part of the story. And if you watch all the videos together in order, it is a complete movie. And that's something I've never been able to do. Like each one of my videos were basically separate from one another, and they were all separate projects. Mm-hmm. So this is for the first time, I think, my most cohesive project.
Ambitious project.
Very ambitious. Like, First of all, the album itself is musically different than anything I've ever done because I've had more time to experiment with stuff. And the album itself tells a story. And then to be able to turn that into a full movie, where now I got a movie that goes with my album as well. Like, you're absolutely right. There's no way I would have been able to pull that off. One, if I didn't make changes, and two, if I didn't make balance in my life by accepting help from my partner.
Yeah. So that is the importance, guys, of bringing balance to your life. Now, this is only a fraction of our life and what we've been able to talk about in this episode.
We got to do a part 2.
We have to do a part 2.
This is going to come back.
And if you guys are interested in seeing this come back and us having a part 2 discussion, feel free to comment below, because there is a video portion of this episode on my main channel, YouTube/ZapCristal. So feel free to tune in and watch the videos, because it definitely gives a nice different perspective of the podcast as you see us react in real time while we're discussing about these topics. Mm-hmm. So feel free to comment below. What are some things you have done that brings balance to your life? Or what things have you learned? What is your aha moment out of this entire discussion that has made an impact to your life? I would love to hear this. And like I said, you never know if we read these comments out loud in a future episode, because we just love shouting you guys out, because if it wasn't for you guys tuning in, this podcast wouldn't be possible.
This is very true.
Yeah. So with that being said, I want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen,
here we go. Let's do it.
To always reset and zap.
Oh yeah.
For the week.
I love that. That's my favorite part.
Thank you for listening.
All right.